Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks for this Wednesday SPOILERCAST edition. Don't worry, we won't get to the spoilers till later in the episode when we'll be covering Doom Patrol Season 1, Episodes 6 and 7. So if you're up on that, join us for that later. But in the meantime, welcome, Andrea.
Hey,
Thanks for joining
John.
me.
Yeah, of course. How's your week going so far?
Pretty good. Busy today. Was out in the heat a lot today and stuff. So
Oof. Yeah,
I
bad day
kind
to
of
be
got
outside.
exhausted. Yeah. And we would have started a little earlier. I was late. I ordered a portable air conditioner for my
Okay.
office. And it came, and I was like, thought I could frantically attempt to get it set up in time, but I could not. So part of the fitting the adapts the outlet for the window for the exhaust is
Sure.
not fitting my window, so it's going to have to be adjusted some
Okay.
next time. And then I still had to like clean up and be relatively presentable like really quickly and then make a drink. So
Yeah, I
that's
noticed
that.
we were both rocking cash glasses today, so
Yeah. Well, I
Sorry.
mean, mine are just like are you ever going to get LASIK? Are you going to have you checked if you're a candidate?
I haven't yet, mostly because I feel like I'm afraid that they're gonna say I'm not because of my weird eyes. You know how I'm like nearsighted and farsighted.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's is what it is. I mean, perks are when I have glasses, nobody's actually ever going to steal my glasses because who's going to see out of them but me?
What mutant wears these?
Exactly. Even people with glasses put them on and they're like, "Whoa, what the hell is this?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know that people with like dual type eyes have had issues with LASIK. So yeah, I really want it, and I would really love to get it because it's a pain in the butt. But also, like, I've been putting it off just because I don't want to like hear that it's not possible, and then that's gonna crush that dream of it being possible.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
The catch-22.
Usually. It's usually free to get the
I know.
consultation. And yeah, I don't know. I would recommend it. I just wear my glasses sometimes if I'm in front of the computer a lot. These are just, blue light filtering glasses and stuff. I usually don't wear them on stream because it glares so much or whatever, but
Sure.
But yeah. How about you? How was your day? How's your week been? It feels like it's been a while.
I know.
I guess we recorded a podcast earlier last week, than normal. So
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it does somehow, I don't know how like the 4th of July weekend stretched. It feels like it was over very soon, but it feels like in terms of time passing, it was long ago. So yeah, I don't know how time does that. I'm chalking it up to like us, still being in this weird coronavirus lockdown. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I've lost all sense of my ability to tell time. So but the week's been good, very, very busy. I did have a friend reach out today, which was nice, and send me. Do you remember those old, like, I think they were Geico commercials? God, I can't even remember who even remembers what they were for. But the camel who was like walking around being like,
Hump Day?
Yeah, Hump Day camel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had someone send me a GIF of that this morning, and I was like, God, I used to love those.
Hump Day? That wasn't that long ago.
I know.
That's pretty recent. That's been in syndication, whatever.
And like when it first came out, that was just like everywhere. Like you just walk around and be like, Hump Day, and like everybody knew. And then it just like completely died, and now I feel like it's back a little bit. Like it's funny again.
Yeah, I like it. The insurance companies definitely push for the marketing.
Yeah.
They do a pretty good job. Geico, Progressive.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, their product is necessary, but it's just not that exciting. Like you can't sell the product in an exciting way.
Yep. I mean, like the chaos guy. I'm chaos,
yes.
And he's like your mom riding the car,
yes.
that kind of thing. That's funny.
I loved those. Like, I mean, I still do like them, but I definitely remember my favorite one was like the first one where he's running around and he's like, I'm a deer in the forest chewing on leaves and shit, and like eats a leaf and then just like runs out in front of a car and freezes like deer do.
Mhm.
And I was just like, God, that's, commitment. Go, dude. Like,
Yeah.
go eat that forest leaf.
We watched something recently, I thought. Oh, I think it was John Wick, one of the John Wick films,
Yeah, okay.
and he was in it. And I was like, wow, this guy does something else other
Oh,
than just the
chaos guy,
chaos
you
in this
mean?
commercial.
Oh,
Yeah, I think he was like a
funny.
henchman in John Wick.
Funny. But did you look at him the whole movie and be like, what are you doing here, Allstate Chaos? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what you
Well, yeah, I
doing?
mean, I did this time. I was, yeah,
I feel like there's definitely like those certain people that you see as those spokespeople and they're just never not those spokespeople. Like Flo from Progressive. I could
mm,
I could never watch her in anything and not be like, Flo,
yeah,
gonna come protect my house? Like, want me to bundle home an auto? What do you want to do?
definitely a challenge
Yeah.
to overcome those kinds of things. I know. I think it was Michael Keaton was worried about, as we'll get to comic book stuff later. Michael Keaton
Yeah.
was worried about getting typecast as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, come on now. I mean, there's a point where are you going to turn down the great opportunity
Right.
because you're worried about being typecast?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I
People
mean,
do it. People overcome that. People like
yeah,
the reconnaissance and stuff.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I totally get it. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of premature worry in Hollywood about being typecast. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're so worried after like 2 movies maybe of doing the same thing, or like they do play like one huge iconic character and then they're like, "Well, I don't wanna be typecast." And it's like, "Well, it's just been like 1 or 2, like chill out, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
mean, just because this is big right now doesn't mean it's gonna be big always and that you're only gonna be seen as this." So,
Yep.
I think there's a
And,
rush to worry there.
yep. Yep. And especially if you're making millions on something, are you telling
Mhm.
me some independent film that wants to, really try to do something different and weird that they're not going to hire you if you want to be part of it?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the bigger your name is, the bigger draw you are for that, random
Hmm.
indie film. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's like
mean,
Nicolas Cage.
yeah,
How many independent films or whatever just spend most of their budget on Nicolas Cage so
or
people will actually see their film?
right, or Samuel L. Jackson, like
Yeah.
name a movie he isn't in, like,
Yep.
yeah.
Indiana
I
Jones.
okay, all right.
I got one.
You got one.
Yeah. Well, anything else crazy going on, or did you watch some fireworks on TV, or just sit
No.
outside and grill or something, or
Both of the last 2. We did grill some burgers for dinner, which were excellent. And I bought like some Arby's curly fries in the frozen food section to heat up, which
oh,
was
I didn't
like,
know that was a thing. Okay.
yeah, I didn't either. And then we were planning to have burgers and I was just like strolling through the grocery store and it caught my eye and I was like, "Oh my God." Like I haven't
Nice.
had these years, literal years.
Nice.
So, yeah, they
Wow.
turned out well. It was good. Um, but then, yeah, we went over to a friend's house and their neighbor had gotten a special permit from the city to shoot off fireworks. So he did
Oh,
like a
wow.
little, yeah. So he did like
That's
a
what they
little,
told you.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm like admitting too much. I won't say where the neighborhood was or what friend it
Yeah.
is. Sorry, guys. Um, but yeah, so he did like a fireworks display in his backyard, and it was actually pretty cool. Like, it was pretty good.
Nice.
It's I mean, it's no, like, normal city-sponsored one where they've got, unlimited budget and
Yeah.
music and,
Yeah.
but it was cool for, like, a home firework display.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
how about you guys?
Um, let's see. On the actual fourth, yeah, we tried to keep it like we felt was very, very American appropriate. We grilled.
Mhm.
We had big rack of ribs, and
Nice.
we shot guns, so that was good. And then We gave Dobby a cookie that said USA.
That's cute.
And then we watched some fireworks on TV.
Okay.
And I think that was about it. I might be missing something else, but it was just good. We hung out outside plenty, and yeah, relaxing.
Nice. Yeah, the 4th was the day this weekend to do that because Sunday was brutal.
Yeah. Yep. And sometimes I do like going to the fireworks, but sometimes I definitely remember years where it's been super, super buggy and
Yes.
obnoxiously hot, and sometimes it's not as fun as it could be, or super busy.
Yep.
Remember that one time we went with Phil and Dana stuff, and like that was a blast when we got there, but man, it was busy and
leaving
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Totally hear ya. Yeah, it was nice that this was kind of like a forced, chill holiday.
Well, in terms of other things going on and not just our lives, we've got a new kind of season of anime.
Yeah.
Starting / very soon starting. I just saw, I think it was IGN maybe posted a list of like most anticipated of the new season, and then threw in some of mine or whatever. And ReZero, I think you said you had not watched that, right?
I have not. I've watched one episode, so that's not watching it.
Ashley and I were big fans of season 1, so it definitely was frustrating, heartbreaking, but exciting. So I hope they can do something decent with season 2.
Okay.
That's out today, the 8th, on Crunchyroll.
Okay.
Fire Force season 2. I had started and watched a fair number of episodes of season 1. Have you tried that one?
No.
Force? No.
What's like a basic overview? Because I'm getting like, is it like Fire Force, like superhero force, or is it like we're like, firefighters, a force of firefighters?
Yeah, it definitely goes off the theme of firefighters, but kind of firefighters with abilities. So you kind of got both in one there. It was odd because it came out or was talked about a lot during the same time as Promare by Studio Trigger.
Okay.
And Promare is the movie, and that's about literal like firefighters with crazy suits and stuff fighting these people that harnessed and controlled fire. And then Fire Force, the show, was about firefighters fighting with abilities, fighting these people that would spontaneously combust.
Okay. So wow.
It's very odd that both came out at the same time, basically.
Yeah, that seems very coincidental.
Yeah, but they are quite different. Yeah, Promare is, I absolutely love what they did with that. It was a great film. And I did like Fire Force. Just wasn't enough to stick with it, I guess. But
sure,
I would give it another try. And then this one I hadn't heard of at all, Japan Sinks 2020. So I guess there is an original Japan Sinks. This is an updated
that they're redoing.
Yeah, for modern day. And that's July 9th on Netflix.
Okay.
Looks cool, looks more serious. Yeah. I kind of am excited to give that one a look.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool that Netflix is, I'm assuming this is being also done by Netflix then?
Yeah, I'm sure they're I don't know if they're producing or it's at least being distributed by Netflix here.
Sure.
They can say it's a Netflix original, and I suppose.
Yeah, the line's kind of blurry there.
Yeah, it's a lot of times, a person thinks, oh, Netflix is making this. Well, they're not really making it. They're distributing it in the United States and maybe another country or something. Or they've, given some money for, thrown some money at a company to.
I was going to say subcontracting kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's fine. That's what every studio does.
Yeah.
Any of these sound interesting to you, or have you had the chance to look at any of those or other anime shows that are coming up that you're pumped about?
Um, man, I'm I feel like I'm purposely kind of avoiding anything new just because I'm trying to finish some old stuff.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, like Dr. Stone that we've talked about.
Yep.
I was wrapping up. I just wrapped up Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, and
Mm.
then I also am working on what was the other one that Vinland Saga.
Okay.
So yeah, trying to wrap that stuff up. But I know other people besides you have talked about ReZero being really great. So that's probably the one I'd start out with.
We were kind of bummed because one of the times we were going to Japan,
Hmm.
they were doing some. It was like one of the characters' birthdays from the show, and so there were some
From
stores
this show?
celebrating that Japan. Yeah,
Oh,
for
cool.
ReZero, and we missed out on the day
Oh,
by a
shoot.
close margin, but it's all right. Um,
That's a
yeah,
bummer
well,
though.
that's
That would
good
have been cool.
control. Yeah, that's good control you've got there to finish the ones you've already started.
I know.
I did pick I did start the I did watch one more episode of Dr. Stone,
Okay.
uh, which was still good. So I'm still working on that. But BNA on
Yeah.
Netflix has really captured my attention right now. A show I didn't know was coming out.
Mhm.
Another series by Studio Trigger.
Yep.
I don't know how many times I brought them up now, but they really seem to be like knocking stuff out. They're just
They should
creating
really
all
get you
kinds
on
of things.
retainer there for promo and marketing.
I know. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I guess I don't follow the news on that stuff as well as I should
Mhm.
because I have loved Promare as I mentioned before. I
Right.
am excited for their Cyberpunk 2077 deal, and you know, Kill la Kill was great and stuff. So this is another like fast, colorful, exciting thing. It's a
Mhm.
another show where they use something outlandish to talk about things that can feel really down to earth.
Mhm.
They do it in this flamboyant, ridiculous way that uh, but still like maintains its like an integrity or a heart that's impressive, a maturity, I guess. So
Sure.
if you like look at screens of it or something like that, it's like, wow, that's kind of like say outlandish or childish, but it's just not that.
Sure.
So I'm excited, and Ashley's been watching with me too. So
Cool.
uh anything else you gotta say about anime? You got um good luck on the ones you're watching, I guess. Vinland Saga, did you try another one of
I
them again?
I did. And it was definitely more actual storyline this time. I feel like the first one was like a lot of setup and like a lot of like beautiful cinematography. So there was actually more to like the story moving it forward this time. So
You and we probably brought it up on the podcast before, but you remember when we started this show and then um we hadn't turned on the subtitles and we're just watching it in Japanese for like 3 minutes
yes.
and not realizing that we
Yes.
couldn't understand what was being said
Yeah, I
because it
feel
was
like
just told so visually.
yes. Yeah, I
It
felt like
didn't,
I didn't even need to know what was happening, and then
yeah.
all of a sudden I was like, "Okay, I really don't know what's happening now, though." Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely, like, still obviously, like, the main element, I think, is, like, the way they tell the story visually is just incredible, but yeah, there's, like, more to it now, so
Yeah. Well, speaking of cinematic,
mhm.
we can talk a little bit about a few movies. I noticed that they've been pushing the advertisements now a lot for Tom Hanks's new film Greyhound,
Mhm.
coming out in just a couple days on Apple TV Plus.
Mhm.
I think Apple paid $7 million or something like that for the rights for this movie.
Okay.
Uh, so
I mean, it's not the most
either
outrageous price, but it's pretty good.
right, yeah,
For
yeah,
Apple TV, I mean.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, one film, not that's not
Mhm.
putting any money into the production of the film, just so you
Right.
can play it,
Right.
distribute it.
Well, I think honestly that shows their sort of desperation for content. I mean, they're not desperate in the sense of like we'll take anything and everything, but it's like another kind of like we need something to like get people here.
Yeah, they're willing to pay a lot of money for something they think is they want on their service. It was
Mhm.
there was another movie or show or something coming out. I don't know if it's just called Emancipation or there's something else, and they paid I think 17 million to
Oof.
get that one. It was between
Oof.
them and Warner Brothers in the bidding war, and
Dang. That's a
won
chunk of
that out.
change.
So yeah, so that's coming sometime. Um, I should have put that in here somewhere so I knew the name of it for sure. But um, are you gonna watch it?
Probably. I like
Okay,
Tom Hanks. Like,
yeah, it's free,
I mean,
right?
and I have free Apple TV, so I'll give it a
Yeah.
spin.
Um, Here's a story I didn't think I was going to be talking about in any positive manner. A movie, I guess, coming to Quibi,
Yep.
which I just have kind of shoved to the side, and
Been
all
very
the big
meh.
names that they got. Yeah, I just don't need another thing, and I don't need
Yep.
another thing that's phone forward. I think that
Yep.
was the mistake of them marketing it to begin with. At least for me, maybe not for others. Was this phone forward? You're gonna watch snips of things,
Sure.
and it
Well,
just maybe tune out.
so I feel like they had the very bad fortune to come out at the exact wrong time. So this makes sense, I think, for commuters. Like Quibi makes sense for
Yeah,
commuters because like you're not pulling out a TV. You're gonna just like look at stuff on your phone. Why not feel like, oh, hey, I got episodes of a show in, or something like
right.
while I was on the bus or whatever, and it felt accomplishable. Um, but
That's
I
true.
mean, COVID hit, and I mean, so many people don't have commutes anymore because we can't go into offices or because sadly, people have lost their jobs. So they don't have jobs to go to. And so people aren't looking at their phones for like quick entertainment while they're riding a bus or riding a train or, in a Uber pool, whatever, however you may commute to the office.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so I feel like this was like some pretty crap timing for an a service that might normally do better or be a hit. And this is just extra
Well,
not.
and I think they have apps now for all your set-top box stuff, Apple
Mhm.
TV, and your smart TV and all that. So you don't need the phone part of it now. But it wasn't
Sure.
that way to begin with. And um, I assume then you can just put it on TV, hit something, hit play on something, and it will just keep playing each thing in rapid succession,
Yeah, I imagine.
which then becomes pretty much just a regular show or movie or whatever.
Exactly.
So then it loses its novelty, like what's unique about it. So then will people keep filming films designed
Mhm.
to work with
Right.
the mobile experience where you can turn the phone portrait or landscape,
Right.
uh, or will they just become a normal service again? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see this sticking around if there isn't some sort of drastic change. If there isn't something on it, like they have a show that just like suddenly
Just
everybody's
blows up.
talking about. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would
Yeah.
have to like almost Game of Thrones level blow up,
Right. Yeah.
at this point for people because I mean, just nobody talks about it.
Yeah. Because
It's
there's so many great things out there competing for our time, and you just don't have how many great things do each of us miss because you just
exactly.
aren't going to spend that much time on it.
Yep.
So right, it's got to be that thing that like grabs a hold of the cultural mindset and
Right.
everybody. It's at the water cooler.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like there are fewer and fewer shows that do that just because we all have access to so much content and a lot of the times people have very unique, tastes in their shows. You might find a
Yeah.
group of people that enjoy what you enjoy, but it's not this like mass cultural appreciation like you have with like a show like Game of Thrones. Like
Yep.
everybody I knew watched it. There were just like people I wouldn't have even expected to watched it and loved it. It just
Yep.
needs, it just feels like there's fewer and fewer of those like totally across the board popular, kind of beloved shows. So
It's a
you
very difficult thing to do,
it is,
and
yeah.
unfortunately, I think a lot of times targeting that as the goal makes for a lot of mediocre
Hmm.
things.
Yeah.
If they had just made something they want to make or something unique, then that might have maybe it didn't explode,
Right.
but it would find its right audience and
Right.
make profit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think trying to make every show be that show is a mistake.
Hmm.
I think there are shows that you can recognize the potential in and maybe invest in more heavily, and then shows, like you said, that you're like, we're not going to put so much time and money in this, but we're going to do it, still in a great way, and then it just like coincidentally blows up,
Hmm.
or we
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, we believed
Yeah.
in it, but we didn't need to like make everything, this quality level or whatever. So,
Yeah. Well, anyways, the movie is Die Hard,
yeah.
coming July 20th, and starring Kevin Hart and John Travolta.
Yep.
And it does look funny.
It does, yeah. Um, so I watched the trailer and was kind of looking at it, was like, man, there's something familiar about this. And I totally get it. It is Get Hard in reverse. Totally. It is totally Get
I
Hard
don't
in
remember.
reverse.
I remember the name of that.
So
I remember the name of that film, but I don't remember what it is.
so it's another of Kevin Hart's films, this time with Will Ferrell. And Will Ferrell gets set up for a white collar crime and takes like the fall for
Mhm.
his father-in-law, and then he's going to be sent to jail in like a month's time. And he's like, "Oh my god, I'm such like a, baby, I'm a pushover, like I'm going to get into that jail and they're just like all these prison inmates are going to rough me up, and I don't want to do that. I need to survive prison."
Right.
So he hires a consultant who is Kevin Hart, who's like his car washer or something, and he thinks like just because he's black he's been to prison, and so he's like, I'll offer you like $1 million to teach me how to survive prison. So like the whole movie is Kevin Hart like teaching Will Ferrell. It's like prison boot camp inside his own home. He like sets up all this scenarios and he's like, this is what you got to do when you walk in there. And so it's totally like this, except in reverse, where like Kevin Hart is like, I could be a real serious, action star, goes to
Mhm.
this guy's house, cuts off all contact, and this guy teaches him, what to
Yep.
do. It's the same thing.
Yep. That's true.
I mean, they even have like the same like sounding like Get Hard, Die Hard,
Yep.
3 letters, 4 letters. Like, I don't
Yep.
know.
Hmm. It's a good point. It's a good point.
Doesn't mean it doesn't
Um,
look funny. I'm just saying, like, I
yeah.
watched it, was
Right.
like, man, familiar plot
I've seen
line.
this movie. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, I don't know that I'll wind up watching anyways, but there it is.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a break here before we get to the comic book side of news things, side
Oh,
of our
yeah.
show, because I forgot to ask what you're drinking.
Um, well, so the only drink holidays I could find for this week were upcoming ones. And in 2 days, it's Pina Colada Day. I'm
Okay.
not, obviously, as you could see from a moment ago, drinking a pina colada because I hate
Yep.
them. They're sugar bombs. Um, like I said, the only pineapple thing I've had today is a haichu. So I decided to do a little throwback when we used to do our Westworld spoiler casts, and I used to have wine every Wednesday. So
Okay.
doing a little wine Wednesday.
Nice. Well, I've got. I also do not have a pina colada, though I did have a white strawberry today, that is
Ooh,
very pineapple in taste.
okay.
So there's that. But I made a coffee cocktail because I knew I'd be tired, and for show and tell for the viewers, Ashley found this Jameson cold brew whiskey and coffee.
Oh, okay.
Um, so we got that. So we got
Nice.
this in my drink
Okay.
with milk and coffee,
Okay.
espresso, And then I've got this Full Throttle Cafe Moonshine. This I got
Ooh.
when we were out in Deadwood, and
Okay.
there's a distillery out there. So this is produced and bottled out there. So that's in there as
Dang.
well. So it's lots of coffee. It's actual coffee. It's cold brew coffee, whiskey, and it's coffee moonshine.
You've got a theme.
Yep.
How does it
And it's very
taste?
good. It's very good.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I feel like, it could
Hard to go
all not
wrong.
come. Well, it could all
Yeah,
come together not quite right.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Like it could be a little bitter. Like the moonshine and whiskey might not, pair well totally. So good.
No. Yeah.
Getting you energized.
No.
You're gonna be up still at like 1 a.m. Like why?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I usually don't have coffee after 5 o'clock.
Sure.
So, but
Well,
we'll
then
see
you're
how it
just
goes.
you're just gonna watch like everything we just talked about on our list. You're like, I'm doing
Yep.
it.
Oh, that'd be bad. So as I mentioned, comic book entertainment kind of news. We're
Yeah,
working our way towards the Doom Patrol.
that's right.
I found this trailer for the Sandman Audible edition.
Mm-hmm.
So the Amazon company Audible, they're
Mm-hmm.
doing Sandman, which I thought was very interesting because Sandman is a renowned graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
So to remove the graphic part of this novel seems very interesting. But the trailer
Yeah,
is cool, and it's got a big cast.
it
So Kat
does.
Dennings, Taron Egerton, James McAvoy,
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, Michael Sheen. Yeah, it's got some people in it. So
Well, and people I feel like with unique voices,
yep.
so I
Mhm.
mean, at least if you can't visualize, maybe, their voices can help you, you know, through their
Yeah,
inflection, paint a better picture. Um, I mean, I always think for, audiobooks, whoever's reading it can make or break. And I have heard some
absolutely.
terrible readers. So this cast sounds
Mhm.
at least cool.
I've tried some audiobooks in the field. As I did
Yeah,
a nonfiction one, and then a Star Wars one. Nonfiction one was okay. The Star Wars one, I just couldn't. It was too corny,
sure,
read aloud.
sure.
I don't know. Just and if that was to fault of the actors or not, I don't know. But it didn't work. So that and then I've tried some Doctor Who, but I had to turn
Oh,
it so loud, like just the old one that I
okay.
had. I turned so loud to hear fully and understand through the accent and everything, and just how whatever the recording was. All of a sudden, someone would yell, and my eardrums would bleed. So,
Sure.
um,
They
yeah, I
clearly
mean,
didn't have a good editor to
something. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I'm in the tractor. It's louder, so I have to turn everything up more.
Still
Um,
though.
yeah. So
I feel like
if
you'd still be
anyone's
experiencing that problem at like normal decibels, like something, even if it didn't like shatter your eardrums, it would still be much, much louder that makes you like
Mhm,
flinch, you
yep.
know? It's not enjoyable.
Well, a lot of the Doctor Who stuff is very popular, so I definitely want to try more of some of the more recent stuff and see if that's changed at all or what.
Sure.
But yeah, Sandman Audible Edition coming soon.
Hmm.
That looks cool. Um, The Boys season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Used-
saw a quick tweet out, and I know IGN I think also did a little feature today on Twitter. But yeah, we've got a release date for season 2 for The Boys on Amazon, and that is going to be September 4th. So
Nice.
I figured, what with us, talking before we decided to watch Doom Patrol about watching The Boys, we can maybe
Mm,
plan a season 1 spoiler cast around that. 'Cause
yeah.
I feel like
September 4th.
it'd be
Yeah.
fun to try and watch like another, darker superhero show.
Yep. I think we're gonna have to, finish up with season 1 and then watch season 2 of Doom
Hmm.
Patrol faster. Because if we're gonna
If
get through the
yeah,
boys season 1 and then be ready for season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It'll be quick. We might
Mm-hmm.
have to do the couple episodes at a time. But I feel like this is working. Like it's this format for Doom Patrol is working really well. Watching
Yes.
2 at a time.
It lets us remember enough going on, that we don't forget over the course of a full season. And I mean, I think that if anyone was going to actually watch along at all, you don't have to sit and have seen the entire thing first.
Right.
So yeah. Well, we can get into that now. So spoilers everywhere. Spoilers left and right, from the sky and from the ground. Here they come for Doom Patrol. I should have had some rhymes in there. That could have been nice someplace, but I didn't have anything that rhymed at all. So we watched episodes 6 and 7 this week. Season 1. And not a two-parter like the last ones. But what did you think of them, either in total or of episode 6? You have a lot of notes. I wrote like 2 things for each episode.
I saw that.
I like it.
Oh,
I'm
God.
fine. Oh, that's good.
No, the way I watch is like stream of consciousness. So it's definitely just like I see a thing and I just like write a thing, and I'm still watching, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I had thought about this other thing. And then sometimes I delete my notes because like I'll write a question and then it's answered later in the episode, and it's like, that's fine though. Then I still go back and look at what I wrote. But so yeah, I thought 6 and 7 were again really fun, kind of interesting episodes to watch together, even though they weren't nearly as related as the previous 2 with the decreator recreator arc. But I mean, they definitely were very heavily reliant on each other thematically. Episode 6, we get introduced to the original Doom Patrol, that Niles was involved with to some extent, not quite exactly sure, like, did he found them? Did he bring them together? Did he, fund them? But yeah, so we get a glimpse of them and their past and their story. And then of course also their present. And then in episode 7, that kind of carries over because we're watching the current iteration of the Doom Patrol, even if that's not what they call themselves yet, kind of struggle with the same things that we just watched the old Doom Patrol go through. So I really feel like the 2 were heavily related, even if they weren't like a package deal. So that was kind of fun for me.
Yes. I thought the episode was a lot of fun in general. It reminded me of what I feel like the vibe would have in the New Mutants movie if it was ever to release. It had its creepier moments and stuff in there.
Sure.
It definitely was. They brought up The Shining. I feel like I'm in The Shining or something in here, and that totally fits.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was really fun to get some backstory, not only for the characters, because we did get a little like insight into some of their worlds, especially Rita's in the first episode, which I thought was really fun. But we also got more broad insights into the world, like, hey, superheroes are here, people know about them, the Doom Patrol existed, they've got like names for these kinds of organizations, and they talk about like the Brotherhood of Evil. And so yeah, so it's just kind of like more fun information about the world.
Yeah. I really like this kind of stuff. It's sort of what, again, we can compare to X-Men, where you brought up like this, how it's always a school if for gifted youngsters or for metahumans,
Yes.
But they do this with Xavier, where he's this idolized father figure type of thing. But they work to break him down over time. You realize that he is flawed, he is human. And I mean, this is something that's obviously been taken and used a lot. Dumbledore from Harry Potter, is that same kind of thing where, oh, it's Dumbledore, can do no wrong, is so knowledgeable and wise and all this stuff. But he's an adult with real problems and concerns and
Right.
schemes, that he has to try to make like his plans come to fruition. And it can cast a shadow upon a once glorious figure. And so we've definitely gotten that with Niles here,
Yes.
where it's like basically first experiment with the Doom Patrol went wrong. He had his team, ran into Mr. Nobody that they cannot deal with, and now he is torturing them for the rest of their lives, really. And I had wrote somewhere, but we continue to see, and there continues to be this buildup of how hopeless things are really against our main villain,
Yeah.
and the in like incalculable ways, basically, that he can bring upon destruction or horror or torture to someone should he feel that's necessary. And so I thought this was it was a great way for him to not only scare the current group, the current Doom Patrol, we'll say, into hopefully in his mind staying away, because
Right.
look what I will do to you.
Right.
And at the same time, dissuading them from looking for Niles, because look what he will do to you.
Right.
Look how he cares. I mean, it was a perfect, like you mentioned, like Jane has a room there
Yes.
because there's an expectation that she'll not be able to handle herself. She'll go mad and be too dangerous, that she's going to have to go here and be locked up,
Right.
basically.
Right. Yeah, it was very like sad future picture for the current Doom Patrol. At least the ones who were there. Obviously, Cyborg and Cliff didn't go. But I think the most vulnerable to that kind of mental attack, Jane, Larry, and Rita, are the ones who went. You know what I mean? Like, I
Sure.
just feel like they're more susceptible to punishing themselves, and they kind of hate their selves.
Yeah.
I mean, Jane has obviously a lot of issues with like the 64 personalities that are living inside her. So she doesn't feel like she knows who she is because she's all these people. um and then of course, like, Rita is a stage name that we find out in the next episode. um and she just feels like she's totally constructed this persona, but that's not who she is. And then, of
Mhm.
course, Larry has never accepted himself because he's gay. So he feels like this isn't me. This is, I'm some sort of monster. I'm not real. So they're all sort of like not connected to their true selves and don't really, like I said, just I feel like would be the most vulnerable from this. Cyborg is
Yeah.
like pretty solid about himself. Cliff is just too irreverent to like buy into, any sort of, deep mental like self questioning. Of course, this changes a little bit in episode 7, but then we see like it's a
Mhm.
different cause behind it.
Sure.
So yeah, I thought it was really effective
Yeah.
sort of mental torture for those three.
Well, and those three are the ones that have been doing this to themselves the longest. Vic
Exactly.
hasn't, he's young, he hasn't been around that long. Cliff has lived basically a normal human existence so far, and not that long as a robot here.
Right.
The other three have been in this state for a long time. Seems like their conditions have
Right.
basically stopped them from aging or something,
Yeah.
or at least dramatically slowed that. So, um, and on the one hand, I sit there and think, man, it's a little pathetic that you're torturing yourself for this long, or it's taken it Rita, it's taking you this long to realize that something needs to change for your happiness here. And same
Right.
for Larry. And it's a little more complicated for Jane, obviously.
Right.
um, but at the same time, as where I think that's pathetic, I also think it's not unrealistic. I
Mhm.
think there's people now that if they live 200 years, they wouldn't be able to live with themselves, right?
Absolutely.
And especially after something dramatic, like we see in the next episode. Cliff says, all right, tell us how your parents messed you up, or whatever, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's because a lot of people struggle with that stuff. And I think that even 50 years on, though strange as it may seem, I think that's not out of the ballpark of possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because we see a lot of their trauma in these two episodes. Kind of incidents of trauma for them, both large and small. Like we see the first time Rita killed someone, and
Yep.
lost control of herself. Um, and that, I mean, that sleazeball had it coming, but
Yeah.
also like
Other people you could feel more guilty about, right? Yeah.
yes. But also, like, for her, that's traumatic because she couldn't control herself. She just did it. And,
Yeah.
like, luckily it happened to be a terrible person. But, she was obviously very worried later on about doing that to a good person. But then we also have this, like, mental torture about Mary Beth that,
Mhm.
Mento sort of recirculates under the, agitation he's experiencing from Mr. Nobody's
Yep.
games. We don't even know what that is.
Right.
Like
So you didn't come forward with that yet. We gotta save that for later.
exactly. And how many traumas like that are still out there. We've discussed a few, on screen. Cliff obviously is kind of all out in the open. Um, and Larry, I feel like, I mean, i- there may be other things, but I feel like his trauma is just so centralized around the fact that he couldn't accept himself as gay that that's just kind of like his thing. Whereas like Rita, I feel like has multiple different types of things that we're going to
Sure.
experience. Um, so yeah, kind of
Well, I
interesting to
mean,
see
Larry
what
has to.
what else might be out there.
You're right. Larry couldn't accept himself as gay, but he was trying to be responsible for, you know, not like you see him as a kid and his parents getting all freaked out that they're going to be shunned from at church and the community and all stuff.
Yeah.
So trying to be a trying to like, well, I'm not going to,
Not gonna
I don't
hurt
want to
people.
wreck
Yeah.
anybody else's life. Right. Yeah. And then on the other hand, then when he
Yeah.
gets to be an adult and he really can make the choices, then he's choosing to hurt
Right.
someone while
Right.
trying not to hurt them. I mean, it's definitely complicated. And now when it would make it much more difficult to accept yourself when you look in the mirror then and you like you say you are horrified now, you really
Yeah.
are horrified at your image. So
Yes.
yeah, I don't envy any of them, that's for sure.
No, they all have serious traumas, clearly.
Yeah.
Though I do have to say, I wrote this as a note, but I'm like, I was really weirdly bothered by it. For Larry's flashback when his parents are talking and they're like, oh no, like he's gonna be gay and we're gonna lose our standing and whatever. Because they were like, we caught him out back playing doctor with his friend. And I was like, I'm sorry, this kid is 9.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
really? Like,
uh,
they're playing
I
like
guess, yeah.
sex doctor games at 9 years old. Like, I don't know. It
Yeah.
felt a little crazy to me.
There seems to be this misunderstanding where, right, if you're 9, if you were to do something quote unquote sexual, it's still not sexual because you
Right.
don't know that it's sexual. You don't
Right.
like understand that yet. So yeah, you're a child, it just is not the same thing.
Yes.
Now the mother was saying, we know clearly, so there must have been other things or something that to
Right.
them, it's being we're playing off a stereotype here, then I'm
Right.
sure it was, oh, he doesn't want to play sports and wants to sit inside and draw, so he's gay, or
Right.
something was the
Something like,
signs to the mom.
yeah,
But
totally. Yeah, totally not true. And
yeah,
yeah, like you said, very stereotypical. But yeah, I don't know. I watched that and I was just really hung up on that. I was like, this kid is way too young for you to know that like he's playing sex doctor, like, and not just regular kid doctor with a boy. You know what I
right,
mean? Like,
yeah,
I
right,
played doctor with girls, but that never meant that like, there was
right,
anything else. It was literally just a game.
yep.
I don't
You
know.
play if you play doctor with your family, does that? I mean, what?
Right? Yeah.
Now, I mean, like that's
Where's the
not weird either.
line?
So yeah, it's it's yeah, it's silly, but it gets across the point,
Yes, it
that
does. Yes. That obviously,
yeah, they could have had him be a little older,
right.
be a little older.
Right. Yeah, I don't
Like
know if it was just like a
God,
misage cast, you know what I mean? And he
yeah,
just like looked younger, but yeah, dang.
God, Larry's 16 and he's still in the backyard with his best friend, and I don't
Like,
know, playing doctor with his butt,
right,
doing
like
some butt surgeries.
that to me is like a clear sign. Some 9-year-old kid playing doctor by the swing set was like,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Yep. And then we're
So,
seeing Rita as a kid, as well. That
yeah.
was, I mean,
Ooh.
that was sad, but
She had some
you can,
ultimate extra stage parents.
yep.
Like,
Mhm.
wow. Holy cow, I
Yep.
felt so bad for her.
Yeah, I feel really bad for kids that have to deal with that kind of thing. Parents that are, again, unsatisfied with their own
Mhm.
existence and can't be happy with themselves, so they have
Mhm.
to force something upon their children, in
Right.
such a way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they just made her this like creepy little doll person. It was just
Hmm.
super weird. I mean, I do think there is some part of Rita that enjoys pictures and enjoys filming and being on the set, but I don't think she ever got to
Oh
do it
yeah.
on her own terms.
Right.
So I think it's
You
very
get
tough.
brainwashed to that. That's what you want to live for. Yeah.
Right, right. And even if, she could have found it on her own terms and sort of like, maybe done it under her real name or even, God forbid, picked her own stage name, it would have
Yeah.
felt more personal for her and like a happier thing, where now it just feels like this sort of like anguish and torment for her.
Yep. Yep. It's too bad. Let's see. We both really thought Mento's helmet was super hot.
Oh my
Please,
God, it was
Mento, wear the
so
helmet.
dorky. Like I thought Magneto's helmet was dorky, but this just like new levels.
Hmm.
Oh
I
my
thought they
God.
played that sort of original Watchmen, sort of
Yes.
50s, 60s kind of whatever, or
Yeah.
golden age kind of idea well. And that
Yes.
was the look they were going for, it seemed, and it worked for that.
Yes. It was just definitely like dorkier. You know what I mean?
Yes, it
It's
was definitely dorky.
it definitely felt like so you remember Deadpool where he's going through like the different iterations of his costume in the beginning where he's like,
No.
first well, he's like trying out like first he wears like all white and then he gets like shot and he's like, "Okay, well, no, I can't wear white. Now I have to wear red." And then he wears like
Mm-mm.
red sweatpants, but then they like get torn really easily. So he's like, "Okay, I need stronger material." So he's going through like all these iterations of his costume. I felt like these costumes were somewhere in the middle of that. Like not like the super cool stuff that Deadpool ends up with, but they're not like a red tracksuit either.
Man, you bringing up Deadpool reminds me, of course, of Ryan Reynolds, which reminds me of Green Lantern, which reminds
Oh,
me that he might be in the Snyder Cut, which
oh, right.
reminds
Oh
me
gosh.
that it sounds like DC plans are still all crazy up in the air and
I'd expect nothing
ridiculous, and
less
I'm
from
upset.
DC.
I know. It's yeah, for another episode, because I could
Mm,
rant on that again for a bit.
for
But
sure.
anyways, to the good parts of DC, I guess.
Yes. Um, but yeah, I thought their uniforms were very funny. They
Yep.
were they were not even like I suppose I do get the Watchmen confused between like original, 50s,
Hmm.
60s Watchmen and the later. So they're probably more in line with the original Watchmen, but yeah, that helmet of Mentos was some power dork showing through with those like attached glasses and I don't know, like
Hmm.
the little antenna. Yeesh.
Yep.
Um, but speaking of Mento, obviously like he started out in our estimation, kind of cool. Um, he and Rita had a thing back in the day and he really obviously helped her um get
Hmm.
control over herself, in her new mutated form. But then of course he's a jerk, we find out. Because he's messing with the Doom Patrol. He's like projecting this whole reality that they think they've stepped themselves into, and he sort of like passes on some of the emotional trauma that Mr. Nobody's had on him. He sort of passes it on to them and forces them to confront like some pretty dark moments in their past. Um, but what I thought was really interesting was I had a lot of questions about the world he constructed. He kind of sits in this crumbling old house. He projects this like mental reality that he himself lives in, but then
Yep.
also the other original members of the Doom Patrol, Rhea
Yep.
and Irani. And I was thinking like, okay, so he projects this all in his head and in their heads.
Mhm.
How does it all work? Like, does he set up scenarios for them to live through? Like, do they contribute to the picture? Do they have their own agency within, or can he like make them do things?
Yeah.
Um, and how does their kind of caretaker, the other metahuman Joshua, how does he all fit into it? Like, does he go in and out as he pleases to care, for them mentally, but then also physically? Does he get to do whatever he wants? Why is he accepting this
Yeah.
job as a metahuman babysitter when he is a
He
metahuman?
hopefully he's getting paid well.
Yeah. It just
His
I don't know.
benefits or
It set up a
something.
lot of questions for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about how the other members, Jane and Larry and um, Rita uh, acted there, they had their own agency, but they
Hmm.
were not there as part of the picture. So
Right.
the others, I'm sure, have some of sort of their own agency as well,
Hmm.
but it's a common shared idealistic view of what this place is. And it
Right.
seems like to me they're bought into a specific fantasy of what
Sure.
things were and could be. So the
Sure.
idea is we've set up, hey, we won against Mr. Nobody. And now look at the progress and what we have, the school we have going and stuff. And
Right.
so that you can see it being a common like memory plant that has been set for the three, and
Hmm.
then it's just maintaining that, and
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely powerful
Well, yeah, I
to
was thinking like think of
to
the
do
mental
that.
work it would take to do that
Hmm.
every single day for how many
Yep.
years?
Yep.
Because I mean, like Rhea and Irani like have to be in there. They have to interact. They have to like share in this. He has to like
Hmm.
build out the universe, probably put in some sort of like, story every once in a while. Like I was thinking about it particularly when at the end when they were all imagining they were taking the promo photos. Like,
Hmm.
does Mento then have to create a character in this world and like have them say like, "Oh, come take promotional photos," like, and then the other two are like, "Yeah, I'm buying into it." So like he has to set that all up. That's a lot every single day for how many years?
I wonder if Josh was has something to do with the psychic ability as well, like
Mhm.
that's his thing, and so
Yeah.
he can push and he can put in elements himself,
Mhm.
with his own kind of projection, like, you see me taking your picture, that's what you
Right.
see, and he places that in there. And
Right.
if Mento, like, deep down trusts him or whatever, that
Mhm.
it's not a threat, someone else there kind of uh you know placing these suggestions and these little things around. That
Mhm.
would be my guess. Like some way that he could
Sure.
also like try to calm them um,
Yeah.
psychically.
Yeah, we get a hint that he's sort of maybe like I don't know. He reminded me a little bit, if we're gonna go with the X-Men comparisons, he reminded me a little bit of Jason Stryker. Them
Oh,
like you know what I mean? But like a non-handicapped, maybe less powerful Jason. You know what I mean? Like
oh
we got
yeah.
like a
Okay.
hint of like his abilities. Like you said, they have something to do with the mind and maybe some sort of like mental control or, ability to enter into the minds of others, something related to that. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so maybe that sort of like effect, but less sinister, like a more calming effect.
Well, I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was again the appropriate
Hmm.
like balance of seeing their past and their tragedy along with an interesting present and story. I didn't I
Yeah.
didn't know where it was going. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Man, something seems up here. Something seems fishy. Why have we not heard of these guys? And it's like people are acting odd, not giving answers, and then you start seeing the glitches, and
Yes.
but you don't what is happening, and so
Right.
they did it well, I think. Again,
Agreed.
episode 7.
Hmm.
We had like got into it just a little bit. The episode kind of revolved around having a sort of it was supposed to be a team meeting in the morning, and kind of therapy session that it evolved into when the
Yes.
meeting actually sort of happened.
Yeah.
But big takeaways.
Yeah, I thought it was cool how they played with time. It was like just a few seconds where Vic was going around knocking on everybody's door, but in that, kind of few seconds, we got to see how everybody was like doing before, during, and after, they're being
Right.
summoned to the meeting. So it's very cool to like rewind and play everybody's stories, see how they all intertwined and what kind of mindset they were in before they got what what turned into the group therapy session rather than the team meeting.
Hmm.
So yeah, that
I
was
saw.
that was cool.
I see this comment, and I was just thinking about this as well. So, with Larry talking to Negative Man through his
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah,
So,
we finally got to see them like actually interact, even though like you just sort of had to like assume it was Negative Man and not maybe like
mhm.
his own subconscious.
And
But I
yeah, I
think they
wanted to
they,
see
they
if that's what. Okay, that's what it seemed like to me as well, and
yeah.
it seemed like it was taking Larry a minute to
Yeah.
understand that,
Which
like
is
for sure.
fine. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Hmm.
clearly like he said he's like I relive these memories, I torture myself with them. So like
Hmm.
I get that maybe it took him a minute to not just think like, oh, it's my subconscious. Oh, it is you,
Right.
Negative Man.
Yeah, and you're thinking like, is he attracted to him or is this
Yeah.
coincidence? I I agree. It's like that's a little odd that that's what you choose.
Yeah.
To choose a person with such. But I guess those memories are causing him so much pain. So if it's those are the ones he needs to work through.
Right.
Maybe it's best to be in those. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he
I just
came to him before, right? As John in the chamber, right?
Yes, he did.
So, what's going on? Okay.
Yeah, so clearly there's some sort of tie with like Larry needing to work out his issues and Man wanting him to do so. And that's maybe the way that they can communicate because they both like share these memories because they're
Yeah.
torturous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting memory to keep going back to. Like it kept like going back to the moment they were like kissing each other and I was like, interesting. Like is this like
Hmm.
a coincidence for Negative Man or is this, some kind of
Yeah.
clue?
Yeah. I'm gonna be interested by the end of season one how each of these characters have progressed in their control of their abilities and all that stuff,
Mhm.
because it's a difficult thing to plan out that pacing. Right
Yeah.
now to me it feels slow with Larry and his
Mhm.
coming to terms with or having ability to communicate with a Negative Man or the person in the being inside him.
Yeah.
But that's all kind of depends on the greater scheme of things. So it'll be interesting. Like I'm just hoping they don't drag them on too long, so they
Right.
always have something to like kind of deal with.
Right.
But yeah. Do Vic. Yes, we haven't talked about Vic yet, really.
Yeah. So he had some big things happen over the past two episodes.
Mhm.
His dad obviously came because Cliff pushed the reset button or the safety button. Um and they had a pretty good heart to heart, especially after Cliff, you know, talked to his dad and was like, "Hey, stop giving him such a hard time. Like he's growing up really well."
Yeah.
Um so now Vic is like getting full control of his systems in episode 6 and learning in episode 7 that that might not be the greatest thing. Like it's
Yeah.
really hard. Like he goes on social media for the first time, kind of finds out that's terrible.
Well, that was a terrible selfie. Let me just say that was a bad picture he took of himself with his little finger cam.
Yeah,
You need
that
someone else to take a picture of you or something,
well, and nobody
because
does an upshot. You like do the down angles, man. Like,
yeah,
come
that's right.
on.
Well, he wants to look big and imposing, I guess.
I
I don't know.
guess. But yeah, that was a whole really interesting thing, not only to like see him learn, people aren't always going to react the best to him, and it's not always great that you can see those reactions through your secret spy technology there.
Yeah, I would have turned that off right
Yeah.
away. It's not,
But it's also a little scary that his system is anticipating him and reading him in such a nonverbal way. Like I
yeah.
said, it was like his system's getting a little cybernet, you know? I mean, it's like growing self-aware and it's kind of growing aware of him. And that might continue to be a problem in later episodes, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you can see the issues in the future. The idea of what they call AIs now, your digital assistants, basically, um, is it's supposed to be that proactive. They want to get to a point where it's proactive and you don't have to ask it for everything because it knows. It knows what you want. It
Right.
knows what you're going to do. But that's obviously dangerous. If you're used to every month ordering something from wherever, and then one month you're like, well, we kind of got a surplus of that. We don't need anymore. But then it just orders it because, well, we know you want that. That's where it is.
Right.
And then, it's done this thing. Or what if you're having an event and you didn't want to invite your in-laws or something like that, and it invited your in-laws because it's like, oh,
Exactly.
you always invite your in-laws. What are you
Right.
doing? Of course you're
Normally
going
they
to.
come here. Yeah.
Yeah. Or whatever. You can see all kinds of issues that you get into in trying to find that balance. And this is in him and so
Right.
integral to what he is. He almost has another entity living in his form as well.
Right. Well, and like you've given, I mean, obviously within the realm of possibility, like very innocuous examples of the downfalls of this sort
Hmm.
of intuitive technology. For Vic, he's like a weapon. He's,
Yeah. Yep.
if he has this sort of like, well, you normally use your flash cannon on this kind of enemy, and it's like, turns out it's like a little kid, and he's like, oh, I don't want to do that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, how far does it go where it just like reads him and,
Yep.
and reads his patterns, but can't read the context or the nuance of the situation?
Yep. Hmm.
So, yeah.
And it was interesting with Cliff talking to his Vic's dad then too, how, he says, I recommended a whole bunch of stuff to, uh,
Niles, the chief.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for your build, and he took none of them. If
Yeah.
I had done it, you'd be way better.
Yeah.
It'd be ridiculous. And he's even says better than his son because in his mind, you're all machine pretty much. So
Yeah.
you could be anything. And
Exactly.
my son had to work with what was left, a bunch of body parts and stuff yet. So he
Well,
can't be
and,
as good.
well, and think of how much they've learned since then about, how Cyborg works,
Hmm.
and like how much like maybe new data, unfortunately, Silas might be willing to try out on someone for
Yeah.
good or for bad.
Yeah. Well, and it's really, I didn't think of it this way before, but that makes an interesting juxtaposition there with those two. It's the one
Mm,
that is basically he's a physical book, and the other one is an ebook or whatever.
yeah.
It's a digital versus, they're both robotic, but there is one that is embracing the everything connected, everything is smart, everything is is
Right.
intelligent and machine learning, and the other is basically dumb. It's steampunk era. It's mechanical.
But it totally fits though, right? Like I can't see Cliff interacting with all the smart technology and just being like totally, yeah. Like I get this. Like
Yeah.
intuitive user interface, like I feel like it sort of fits his personality to be this like clunkier version.
Yeah, well, I mean, if nothing else for the story, it works to have these to pair off of each other, and they can have
Yeah.
their pros and cons. Um, and yeah, it makes it interesting. But I would be a little jealous, at
Yeah.
first to be like, wow, I mean, I could be like Vic. You mean I could have arm cannons and I could hack into things and I could whatever. That would be great.
Yeah.
You know, I can't
Yeah.
I can't feel or taste or anything. I just have to clunk around and smash things.
I don't know. I feel like you and I would be jealous. But again, because we know a little bit more about like that sort of interactive technology, so it wouldn't be such a barrier for us to learn. Plus, let's get real. Like, Cliff, in just his brain, is kind of forced to be a better person because he can't do much. Like, I feel like, like Cliff with, access to the internet would just be like watching porn all day or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because he was such
sure.
like a
Yeah.
sexual horn dog before, like now he can't do any of that. He can't. I mean, he could probably watch it in his like robot, form on
But
videotape, but that wouldn't really be the same. Like, I
let
just
me
feel
just say,
like,
he's gonna have way less testosterone now because you just have your brain.
right,
There's no
true,
testosterone in
true.
that metal Hulk. So
But yeah,
yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think
I feel like there's some sort of like funny
yeah.
personality thing that works for him as Robot Man
Mm-hmm.
rather than like updated kind of like Cyborg.
Yeah. Well, and a person may ultimately be happier in that form than the connected anyways. You see more and more
Yeah,
people sort of unplug these days because the barrage of the connected world is constant
absolutely.
and not particularly satisfying. Um,
Absolutely.
our brains aren't made that way, and to absorb so much random information, useless information from all over the world at all times. And so, how much ability does Cyborg have to unplug? We've seen him lose a lot of autonomy because his dad has controlled so much of his being. Like you say, I've actually
Right.
turned on privacy mode for real this time. Okay, well, thanks. Did you? I mean, you didn't before and you lied about it. So,
Right. Yeah. Who knows?
yeah. Yep. I don't know. I definitely, I had not felt all that bad for Vic ultimately, until this episode, really.
Sure.
You could feel pretty, like, how trapped would you feel, that you really are beholden. I mean, it's kind of the ultimate, kid with a rich parent or something, and they feel like they have to live up to their parents' standard, and they have to do what their parents say if they want to get the fancy car, and they feel like they're trapped and stuck in living in their, when the confines of what their parents set for them. Well, this
Yep.
is very literal.
Right.
That.
Yeah, this is that to the extreme. This
Yeah.
is like literally you don't even have your own body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I had put the ways that Mr. Nobody can hurt you are vast, because
Mhm.
that was kind of the big episode end reveal, was
Yeah.
why Cliff was freaking out and blowing a gasket,
Yeah.
because Mr. Nobody had talked a rat into avenging his run over mother into
Mhm.
running into Cliff's robot body and
Yeah.
causing all kinds of trouble, which is
Right.
nuts. It's
It is
nuts.
totally nuts, and it's crazy because I mean it really feels like he set it up with, you know, Cyborg discharging his arm cannon and like making that hole in Cliff in the first place.
Maybe.
And then this like rat comes in and just goes crazy inside his systems. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that rat crawled out of his mouth, and I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" Like, and then of course, we get the Mr. Nobody
Mhm.
talking to the rat talking back, and it
Like,
kind
I'm
of
a
all
woodland
falls into place.
creature. I don't
Yes.
want to do vengeance.
Well, and I was just so reminded of like the cricket, I think, from the last episode, who's talking to
Oh
the
yeah.
rat about, it's the end of the world. Of course there'll be cheese. And, I don't know. So it just sort of like called back that sort of, animals are somehow involved in this. But interesting that the rat could still even get inside Cliff. Like, was Cliff sleeping? Was he in shutdown mode? I mean, I know he was like angry about his daughter, but still,
Yeah. He
that
might have
rat
been
was
kind of sleeping or something. Yeah.
I mean, the rat wasn't sneaky. He definitely crawled like
No.
in front of Cliff inside the arm. Like, I know that Cliff
I
doesn't
assumed he was sleeping.
feel, but
Right.
yeah, it was very strange. I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to take a little bit of faith on that one.
Because your brain would still get exhausted, I would think, and
Yeah,
you'd
have to
feel
shut it
beholden to
down.
these habits of
Sleep
life,
and wake.
just
Yeah.
like he wanted to eat toast,
Right. Yeah.
take something. So,
Yep.
But yeah, that was interesting. And, like you say, it feels like he had that plan maybe with the arm cannon thing. What
Mhm.
is time to Mr. Nobody?
Yeah.
Is time just
Nothing.
another tool that he gets to play with? And so, in the one point in time, a hole gets blown in his arm. So therefore, in this other time, he sets up for the rat to
Mhm.
go forward and do all this stuff. I
Right.
don't know. It's nuts. And I don't see a path forward for these guys. I agree. I like the little therapy session where if we are not self sustaining and confident and we don't have all this baggage, we need to be able to get rid of all this baggage. He's just going to do exactly what he did to the original Doom Patrol to us.
Yes. Exactly.
So I like that as the current sort of mission statement. If they all take that seriously, like, let's fix ourselves here.
Mhm.
Let's admit we got problems and fix ourselves. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really hoping that I mean, I felt like a lot of the group therapy session really served most of the characters well. They all got to kind of, talk about a lot of their bigger issues. I mean, Cliff
mhm,
was sort of like the instigator. They already knew kind of what his big issues were, but then of course Larry, Rita, and Vic all got to talk and say their piece. I'm really hoping that next episode Jane moves forward because
yep.
I know she's got 64 personalities. They all can't move forward at the same time, at the same pace, in the same way. I get it.
Mhm,
But I was feeling by the end of the episode I needed at least a little less rage
sure.
as automatic response. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I
Like
mean,
I
yeah,
needed a little bit of moving forward.
her was taking I right. I think everybody else moved forward a little bit, except Cliff, oddly, maybe not because he was melting down, thinks his
Right.
rat inside him, which I noted hopefully didn't eat any of his brain.
Yes,
That would
on
be a
that.
bad deal.
Right. It's the only thing he's got left, for God's sake.
Yep,
Leave it alone.
right. Um, but she definitely her I mean, the mission of everybody has been to find Niles, and she is going to feel a little at odds with that. And maybe he's been the only one that she's felt safe with, maybe ever, really. And she feels so betrayed by him now
Yeah.
that he was ready to set her up. It doesn't have the confidence in her necessarily to become someone stable, that she's going to have to be shipped off to this
Mhm.
other place with these horrible or in this such a horrible situation. And
Yeah.
so I can see her different personalities freaking out about this. Like, the one person I trusted,
Yeah.
and I absolutely loved the scene where she was destroying all the tapes,
Mhm.
like
And
the
trying to
back and
stop
forth,
herself at the
like
same time. Yeah.
begging her other self to stop, please stop. And then other person would take over and keep destroying. And soon
Yeah.
as just a pile of tape everywhere. So that
Yeah.
was a great scene.
I agree. Yeah, well acted for sure.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I feel like there's just so much time where Jane or a version of Jane spends angry that I maybe need it to dial back a little bit because
Yep.
the anger, like you said, at Niles, at the betrayal of, you set up a room for me here, didn't quite come through as a high note because she spends a lot of other time angry. So
Yep.
I needed some more low notes to balance it out. So
The times with like Baby Doll or the as Cliff called her, what do you say in the one episode? Tiny Tim or something like that.
yeah.
Uh, with those, I think those are good ways to tamp that down. So if you are not ready
Exactly.
for one of the other personalities to progress, it's a good way to that the others can kind of escape. And you know, I think that'll be used maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yes, it's time for some. Oops, I just deleted something I didn't mean to do. I don't know how that happened. But yeah. Anything else we're really missing? I think we covered a lot. We kind of mixed in some of
Mhm.
the other things from in our talk of the last episode.
Yeah.
Even with just 2 episodes, I get them mixed up.
Well, yeah, like I
Uh,
said, they weren't directly related, but they were very still in a way intertwined. Um,
mm,
so the one question I do have, um, Irani in her like little of the older version of the Doom Patrol in her fantasy, she's married to Niles.
yeah.
Do we think this is like real at all? Or like they maybe had a thing and now in her mind she's playing it up, or that they
Well,
maybe were
wouldn't that be
engaged or
sad?
married?
Wouldn't that be sad if
'Cause-
like they actually did
I don't
get
know.
married and then she was in such a rough state that this is like how she lives now and
Yeah.
basically Niles barely comes to see her. That would be very sad and further tarnish his initial golden
Hmm.
image.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Now
That
I hope we find out more about that for sure because I'm hoping, I guess, that it's just she had a crush on Niles, and so now
grew it
she
into
gets to live
something.
that
Yeah.
life, you know. So it's kind of the happiest she can have right there.
Sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Mm,
I just didn't know how much of that was, based in reality at all.
yeah, hmm
So be interesting to find out.
lots of questions there. I definitely I want to read some Doom Patrol now.
I know.
Want to give something a shot, but at the same time, I kind of want to see where this is going to go without the interference of the comic books at this point.
Sure. Without the
It's
knowledge
kind of
of
like,
where it could.
yeah, it's kind of like Birds of Prey. You know, if you go into that not being familiar with it, then it can be a fun thing.
Hmm.
And if you go in pretty familiar, then it can be pretty aggravating that,
Yes.
why did you make these choices? Um, oh, yeah, I wrote down too. Did you see Wonder Woman's sword?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Was it
So
in the
in
trophy
the
room?
Yes.
Ah,
I was
shoot.
watching it and I'm like, look at that sword. I swear that's in Wonder Woman, and then and I wasn't sure if it was quite Wonder Woman or not then, and I was like, I think that's what it seems like. So I looked it
Okay.
up, and yes, it's God Killer,
It
the sword
is. That's
that the
cool.
Wonder Woman is supposed to take um, in the first movie.
That's
That
cool.
supposedly is the weapon to kill gods. Well, I won't spoil a Wonder Woman now, I guess. Spoilers for that. So
Well, the spoilers are still there, so at least you're
yeah,
safe.
I know, but I did say it's for Wonder Woman then. But yeah, um, I thought that was really cool, and it's another showing where there's a willingness for the television shows to make the connections needed or possible to a larger
Sure.
universe, yet um, the movies fail to do so or to care. I guess even hysterically, sadly, there's the show Titans, which is also on DC
Right.
Universe, and then Doom Patrol, and they're not even really in the same world. So two shows developed at the same time, both DC properties, not necessarily the same world. They gave an answer like, oh, it's the same universe, but not necessarily the same continuum. Okay, you just in
Mm, that's getting very
I
picky
yeah,
with like your
but
your classification of what
right.
world continuum they're in. That's a bit too much.
But it's really stupid and it's such a missed opportunity because what that means then is if they want to put Cyborg in Titans, then they can do that, but they don't have to have this actor.
Sure.
And that's such a missed opportunity. It's a waste. It's terrible. It's like clear when if you're trying to go for the Marvel format anyway, I don't know. You just confuse audiences that really care about this stuff because if they follow a number of different things, you wonder why things aren't connected. Why do we
Absolutely.
have so many different versions of Cyborg? Why wouldn't we like find an actor we like and agree on this actor and go
Right.
with that person?
Right.
It's just it's so
Yeah. I mean,
frustrating.
Marvel really only did that twice. and only once to a main actor. I mean, we had Edward Norton, of course,
Yep.
prior be Hulk, and then we switched to Mark Ruffalo. I mean, pretty quickly. So like all the Avengers were Mark Ruffalo, so I feel like that worked. And then also Rhodey got
Yep.
switched.
Right.
But again, he's not
So,
Iron Man, so like it's fine. We can deal
yes.
with it.
Yep.
This is just
And
like
like the
too many
Hulk
different
was
people are being
right.
switched around.
Mhm. There are understandable situations where you can't make something work.
Yep.
But DC is just not even trying.
Exactly.
You know, we're gonna have like potentially 3 different Batmans. It's nuts. What is happening?
We have at least 2 cyborgs.
Right.
2 Flashes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. You got the TV show and the movie one of right of the Flash. And where does it end? Doesn't end anywhere. It's like we're gonna have 2 different Commissioner Gordons. We're gonna have the one that is played by Jeffrey Wright in I think the Batman with Robert Pattinson, and then we're gonna have a different one in the regular DCEU.
Great.
So I just don't understand. I don't understand. I'm getting mad, Andrea. I'm getting angry because they're so stupid. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it really shows you the flaws in not doing what Marvel did and planning everything out, because it's everything from storyline continuity to actor continuity to, I mean, what now you have to get nitpicky about what time frame, what world, what continuum we're in, all to explain this stuff away.
Yep.
And it's just too much. It's too much qualifying, like, oh, this is in this universe and that's why we have, you know, this actor over here and we're going to set it specifically in this continuum. You know, like you can't, when people go to a movie, they don't get to sit down and read a bunch of background first. Like, okay, before you see the movie, you have to know it's in this timeline, this is the actor, like this is why we made you don't get that.
Yep.
Like you just get your movie, and that's why this is the problem, because people are forever spending half the movie figuring out, okay, who's here? Why doesn't this fit with this other thing that I saw? Should I just spend any mental time thinking about it, or should I just go with it? And if I just go with it, am I going to be disappointed because my brain, despite what I've said, is trying to work out how it fits in?
Yep. There definitely seems to be companies or entities that they just can't find a direction for themselves. They can't find a direction and follow that, like have a true north and like do that. And it's like right now in DC, it sounds like everything is hinging on whether Michael Keaton says yes or no.
Yes.
So the entire structure of the future of the DCEU is whether Michael Keaton says yes or no. Well, that's not a plan. You have a plan A, you have a plan B, you have a plan C. You have like these different ideas like, well, what can we do here? Like, no, pick something and execute on it.
Yes.
Like it just, my God. I mean, I don't know. I can't.
I think
it's just hopeless.
We could both go on about it, but it is, I think it's very frustrating because you do see well-made DCEU products like Doom Patrol. And you see them getting lost or confused in a sea of, you know, hastily put out projects that don't tie to each other. And you see the potential for them to do so, the potential that DC hasn't realized. And it's disappointing.
Yep. You know, you gotta take and embrace what works. And no matter where it is, you know, with Wonder Woman, as soon as Wonder Woman came out and it was a big hit, and everything else before that had kind of been, they should have like full stop. Wonder Woman is our lead. Wonder Woman is our central thing. We are building off of this. Let's plan out a decade revolving around Wonder Woman. We're going to go on this continuum. We're going to move this forward. This is our reboot. We didn't mention anything about the other things in here or whatever, you know, and you don't even have to, I don't know. You just like pick the things that work. If Doom Patrol works, that's part of your continuity as well. You put that in there. You make that work. Bring them to the big screen if you have to. Whatever you need to do.
Exactly.
And but they're just worried about well, we need to have Superman. We need to have Superman. We need to have Batman. We need to have these core things. When you don't, you need good stories. You need interesting tales of
Right.
adventure.
Otherwise, they're forever going to be stuck in reboot mode.
Yep.
Trying to
Alan
achieve
brings
that
up Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. I mean, DC is a limitless pool of potential, and then I don't know. I'll stop. It makes me think
it's
of,
okay. It's tough.
Because I complain about Marvel not bringing in the Netflix people, but they're just, I really don't have any room to complain in comparison. Like, if that's the one mistake that Marvel doesn't bring in, like Cloak and Dagger from that TV show, and then the Netflix heroes and stuff from theirs, I guess that's pretty minor in comparison.
And I think the difference really is that they don't reference them, really. Do you know what I mean? They're not like, it's not like Daredevil appears in a movie and then suddenly is a different character in the TV show. Do you know what I mean? They're almost completely separate in the sense of like they could exist and it's okay, but your mind also can separate them and it's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just not that like messy, like they're here but they're not. There's another actor over here, like we're recasting. Oh, why did this timeline, happen in the TV show, but then, that TV character's in the movie somehow when he's already like dead in the TV show. So I think that the total almost divorce of the TV and Marvel, or TV and movie Marvel characters, sort of makes that work.
Yeah, I mean, it's always one of those where I don't know, it's like a younger sibling always trying to, saying, my older brother is this person, he's so cool, and so you talk about him, but the older brother never talks about the younger brother because he's a young little brat. And so you'll have the Netflix shows make reference to the movies, and you'll have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. make reference, like clearly fitting itself within that kind of thing. But the movies don't make reference to the other way around.
Exactly. And that's, I think, the wider audience where like, the people
now they're doing TV.
True.
With Disney. Yeah, right.
Yes. So, now there could be some sort of, marriage or meeting of the two. But yeah, I think before it sort of worked because there was a subset of people watching the TV shows who like, could like us could be disappointed that they're not interacting, but because the movies made like no mention of them, it's not as messy.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Deep breath. Breath in, deep breath out.
That's how you got to live dealing with the DCEU. Deep breath in, deep breath out. You want to do some therapy? Is this our therapy, John?
Yep.
This is our group session.
It's pretty tame in comparison. First world problems, complaining about fictionalized universes and not like adhering to my standards or whatever. It's definitely
we don't have Doom Patrol level problems, at least.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, that I think covers Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 6 and 7. I enjoyed both, and I look forward to the next couple next week.
Absolutely.
Friday or Saturday, I guess we haven't decided yet, but this weekend we'll have, actually, I'm hoping for Friday, but
put me on air on the spot, John.
Yeah. We'll have another episode, another full episode. I mean, not that these aren't full, but our regular episode. And I would like everybody to, if possible, if you do like these things on all the appropriate platforms, and share this wherever you are, share it with your friends, stuff. We put things in podcast form, put this on YouTube. We're also on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we have our website, so visit and frequent all those things. Thank you to Killing the Flower for our theme song. and you should check them out on Instagram and on Spotify, where you can actually listen to their music. And am I missing something, Andrea, in all the plugs and stuff?
No, I think you covered it. Well done.
I think this next show will have some more gaming news to talk about, probably. And we kind of skipped over some for this, and in the name of expediency. And yeah, so tune in for that.
Sounds good.
Otherwise, thanks for joining me, Andrea. Have a good night.
Yes, you too. Cheers, everyone.